Welcome back. And this is part two for a origin story, vision setting, reaffirming founders rant. Hopefully not so much of a rant as my hope is that it's coherent and purposeful, more of a stream of consciousness and extemporaneous soliloquy or spiel. So where I left off previously was a deep dive into a few things and where we came from and where we began this whole escapade, formerly known as Valdean, 5 years ago. We were really interested in how we could facilitate a closed loop, a virtual training experience for end users, for clients. We're most notably connected to vertical markets in the fitness industry with my direct background in the Marine Corps and as a professional trainer. We discussed how this is my old deck. It's over half a decade old now, but we discussed how there's a broken cycle for the majority of virtual training and virtual movement training. It's just providing output and then it leaves manual data entry requirements on the end user. They're kind of having to guess on how they actually did, what their quality score was. In other words, they've got to kind of just make that up or guess. And that's a pretty big divergence from a human to human coaching process, because in the human to human coaching process, we're actually observing the client's reaction to the guidance. And in the case of fitness, if we say, hey, let's do 12 squats, we demonstrate a squat, they react, they do squats, we're observing, and we provide them with feedback based on our experience and expertise. Hey, keep your back straight, don't let your knees cave in, etc. Over YouTube training, over mobile app training, even more high speed stuff like Peloton. There's some automated data capture, but it's still limited. The solutions are still relatively limited. And that's because fundamentally it can't see you. So leveraging computer vision, natural language processing, and gamification was something we were interested in, building a closed loop system that could actually observe the end user and provide decent feedback. So here's the gang. Yeah, old school gang coming together. Fun times down memory lane. A lot of the thinking. Over the years, my thought process has been structured on the formats of data presented to the user to elicit a certain response, and how we can gather up intake information based on that response and then process that through given systems, run that through given processes, and then re-inform the user. So we have this continuous loop where we're able to get the highest quality and most relevant data from the end user. As we've pursued this concept of the venture map, a digital twin of an organization, we've thought, wouldn't it be interesting if the entire business was like that? So instead of it just observing movements, human movements, be it on a factory floor or a physical therapy office, or even like defense and aerospace type of movement training techniques and real-time feedback for that. It's like, well, wouldn't it be interesting if there was some sort of loop that was self-reinforcing, recursive, self-improving, AI-enabled, data-driven, but it was organizational in nature. The capture mechanism was rather ambiguous because unlike just setting up a camera, and either a depth of field 3D camera or an RGB camera with a pose estimation AI software, where you're getting a point cloud field, you're getting either inferred 3D or full 3D point cloud coordinates through it, like through time. Like where are the people's body parts through time, and then based on that, contrasting it against a standard, and then determining the deviation on that standard. Are their knees caving in? Okay, that's bad. That's in the bad zone. We got to correct that. We have to trigger some sort of feedback through the graphics interface. That's the basis of much of the thinking that informed a lot of our pursuits. We're trying to map out the organization. A lot of my thinking these days has come to the place of insight, decision, and action. The reality loop that business leaders find themselves in is requiring intelligence, requiring insight, context to be presented to them. They'll evaluate that. They'll orient themselves and the situation, the circumstance that they're they're kind of they're fabricating. They'll orient themselves and the vehicle of the business and the team based on the objectives and goals of the organization, and they'll do their best to make a decision. They'll prioritize and decide on what needs to be done. They'll delegate or deliver that guidance into the teams and make sure everyone's aligned. And then it's execution. We'll work on executing that strategy, operationalizing the plan, and that feeds back into the process. So mapping all of that out in my mind has been a precursor to having a self-aware, self-improving business. Because if our culture and brand style and internal business model and external environment and growth plan and customer and employee experiences and strategy execution, project management, performance management, all of that stuff, and the KPIs, data relating to each of those pieces and the interrelationships between all of them, if all of that exists within a robust data lake, a secured data lake, a series of well segmented and classified repositories filled with proprietary intellectual property or IP, then, and we assume that context windows for the LLMs will continue to expand, and the capability set for lossless prompting, lossless outputs, like basically losslessly engaging with the LLMs. So you could basically drop in a 100-page document and it's not going to hallucinate on things. It's not going to forget things or change things here or there. It's going to be really crisp, and there's going to be like a chain of custody for every piece of every nuance within these repositories, these knowledge bases. That's critical. And especially if you consider, not only are we seeing forces where the context windows are going to be dramatically scaled up, the compute speed and its ability to compute is going to be scaled up. Its reasoning abilities are going to be 10 times. I just saw something the other day that said GPT-o1 preview is going to be overshadowed by o1 once it's officially launched. And the difference is going to be the difference between GPT-2 and 4, which is unbelievable. I don't even think, I think the first one I used was 3.5. I don't know, maybe it was 3. I don't even have a reference point to know what that looks like, what impact that makes. So it's pretty wild, because the O1's reasoning abilities is so much tighter. It is far less likely to lose details in very, very large inputs and outputs. And then, so if you take all of that and you also take the fact that agents are here. I mean, it's not just that they're on the horizon, it's here. There's people that are actively working to on the agent play as we speak. That's amazing. It's incredible. The agent play is going to completely change the game. That's what is so exciting. We're making moves to skate to where that puck is going to be. And I'm really excited about that. Something you'll know if you've ever gone into Zapier or Make or any automation tool. It's you can't automate something if you have no idea what it is. If you just have an abstract concept, it's going to be pretty difficult for you to automate it. In the same way, it would be to tell an employee to do something. Even if you had a really smart employee, if you don't really know what you're trying to accomplish, you could give them an intent and they could make stuff up, and sometimes they'll hit it. You see some of that with the prompting abilities with Zapier. You can kind of just describe what you're trying to do. But even with that, you need to say, hey, I need this data from this sheet to be populated in this CRM. If you can't describe it, it's not going to happen. If you can describe it in extremely crisp detail, and you know what's working in the real world because you've done it, you've iterated on it, you've evaluated it from multiple angles, you know the input and the output mechanisms, you know the dependencies, the interrelation, then it's not just, okay, we're making an automation, somebody opts in and we're sending them a PDF. We're talking about a vast array of automations, not just automations, but intelligent automations. These are autonomous agents that are intelligently taking action based on objectives and goals set forth by general models that have intelligent oversight and interconnection to nearly every aspect of the company. This is the type of thing that is coming. This is Q1, this is Q2, this is next year. Before summertime, unless something grievous occurs, like World War III, grid down, something insane that totally derails progress, which even then it's hard to believe that all of the data centers are going to be taken out and that the tens and hundreds of billions that have been invested globally into this effort, an arms race, are going to stop. This has very likely to be one of the last inventions mankind truly has to make. If the promise of AGI is to be fulfilled, the agent component is a critical precursor to the fulfillment of AGI, of artificial general intelligence and artificial superintelligence and all of this. That intelligence explosion, there's a significant component of autonomous agent ability to that. The writing is on the walls. There's a number of people in the game that are already playing in the agent space. These guys have been moving and grooving for a while. The way that I like to think about agents is based on functional areas. The same way we think about employees. We think, okay, we need to hire someone. Where are they going to sit on the org chart? What are their roles and responsibilities? Where is their functional area? When they deliver something that's aligned with the success criteria and their KPIs, who is picking up that baton? If you consider a really easy example, somebody in content marketing, they're getting input from the environment on what's working, their performance of the previous collateral that's been deployed. They're getting input from leadership on brand style and topic selection and parameters for the production of content. They're getting guidance on the methodology being employed, the IT stack, et cetera. But ultimately, there's an end point to their functional area, right? They're ending that they may not necessarily be in funnel design or the digital experience and architecture that facilitates customer acquisition. In other words, they may not be the ones designing the web pages, the email nurture sequences, developing the stuff in WordPress or Webflow or ClickFunnels. The functional area is different. That's a very foundational concept, but it's important. Because if we say this is a functional area, paid ads is a functional area, cold outreach is a functional area, sales is a functional area, website is a functional area, if we can say all of that, then we can tie that to an org chart. And we can say, okay, so the role, this is the seat on the bus that's connected to this functional area, that's connected to this part of our hiring plan, that's connected to these KPIs. Its inputs are this. In order for them to do great work, they need this sort of input, guidance, and support on a regular basis. We only have to show them the culture deck once and then do reoccurring updates. But some stuff we just have to train them with during the ramp-up process. Other things are a continuous sort of feed of information. And then likewise, how do we maximize the outputs of the chain of custody and the people that they're collaborating with cross-functionally get exactly what they need to do the best work in their own functional area. Whether it's offshore talent, whether it's domestic knowledge workers, whether it's autonomous agents, that fundamental mechanism is still going to be employed, as far as I can tell, for the foreseeable future. I think there's probably going to be new and exotic and exciting ways for functional areas to be transcended and for traditional approaches of the division of labor to be circumvented and innovated upon. And I'm really excited for that. I view myself as a student of organizational structure and design. I love to see new and innovative models of flattened hierarchies and distributed organizational structures, but I also believe in responsibility and the criticality of decision making falling on someone's shoulders who's actually responsible for the outcomes. And all that to be said, we fall back to the basics, right? There needs to be an organizational chart because fundamentally that dictates responsibility for outcomes, decision making, and who's executing. I see the agent play being very impactful for this business in the coming weeks, months, and years. We're making efforts right now to pivot and be positioned for that so we can get early traction in a manner that is labor intensive. Make no mistake about it, what we're currently doing with VentureMap Elite is labor intensive. It's going to require a lot of blood, sweat, tears, early mornings, late nights, and frustrations if it works. And it may not. We'll learn and pivot. But if it works, then we have set an infrastructure in play, not just for us as the developers. The employee experience is important, but it's second in terms of importance to the customer experience. Because if we don't have customers, we don't have a business. So we're setting up the customer experience to be validated in a way that they can use their own staff, they can use our staff, our augmented operational capacity building offshore talent to come in and support with implementation, or I should say, automated agents, artificial intelligent agents to be implemented. And there's going to be some deviations, some differences and nuance to each of those types, but fundamentally, it's going to be the same because we're defining a vision, we're setting a long-term picture, our mid-range picture, distilling that down to annual objectives or rocks, distilling that down to 90-day rocks, distilling that down further to smart rocks, distilling that down further to operations plans, distilling that down further to tasks, like what has to get done when and how, and then moving through performance management, knowledge transfer, skill mobility, project management, strategy execution, team alignment, culture building, leadership development, continuous process improvement to make sure that the doing of the thing we've talked about is done at the highest possible level in the most competitive way that delivers value to our end users, builds a defensible moat for us, and sets us up on the path to play the infinite game successfully. So I'm really excited for the future of VentureMap for those reasons. I'll leave the video here and say, I feel a sense of loss having my operations partner and co-founder of 5 years part from the company. Of course, he's maintaining his stake in the group and his love of the process, methodology, and the framework we've established is undiminished. I believe he's aligned with our sustainment plan. The venture map is a beast, and I'm going to show that we can compress down the delivery of insight by way of a holistic visual depiction of an entire organization. My hope is that we'll be able to just bang out week-long venture maps in the venture map elite community very quickly, and that we're going to be one of the only people on school in the community space doing a high-ticket consulting done-for-you service at a very minimal monthly fee. And more than that, we're delivering it in under a week. You have a 2-week, 100% money back guarantee, and you got tons of access to me. We're going to upload everything we have collected over the years and deliver a bunch of new stuff in terms of training and templates and all that. So, but all of that to say, the sustainment plan, in my view, is, hey, listen, we'll give the community shot a year. It's going to be a message to the bottle, a message in the bottle. We're going to open source and deliver everything that we put together for free through VentureMap Free. And we're going to do our best to make sure that people can show up, copy and paste, use GPT. They won't have to pay any money for Gamma or Miro or GPT or Claude and our Google Drive. They can get all of it done for free. So everything we spent 5 years learning, we want them to be able to do it in 5 days. If they want us to help, they could sacrifice what basically amounts to a couple of cups of coffee over the course of a month, and we'll do it for them. From a hypothesis standpoint, we're validating the front end offer and the LTV. From a desirability standpoint, we're saying the offer is compelling on the front end. The value of the venture map is probably closer to $1,000 for the first run. In terms of buying power, in terms of aligning inbound lead generation with the sales process, we think is more efficient to deliver the venture map at 1/10 of that fee and then work on maximizing our LTV to 10 months. So we have more opportunities to run the buyer list, these clients, through an ascension process into our decision-making support and implementation support. as that's really where the agents, AI implementation stuff that we're excited about is going to take center stage. The visual depiction, as I've said previously, eventually it's going to be always on, always visualized. Every detail is going to be there. And we're going to continue pushing until this is fully holographic, until you're putting on your Apple Vision or your Oculus and you're able to see a Iron Man style 3-dimensional array of the entire thing. And you can take it off, see it on your phone, see it on your computer, your iPad, whatever, and interact with it in the best way. But it'll be a self-aware enterprise that you can communicate with, and that's constantly heat mapping and developing solutions to improve itself. That's the whole idea here, and it's deployed human capital and synthetic AI agents to move the company forward towards your objectives. I'm excited about that. It's a bittersweet thing to see a founder and operating partner part ways from the team. It's exciting for him as a founder to know he came in 5 years ago as an intern, blood, sweat, and tears, sweat equity, and just barbarian mode commitment into learning and producing and making it happen, making it work. And now to see him branch off into pursuing a new founder's opportunity is so cool. I am excited for the next step in his journey, and I know that there'll always be a shared trust, appreciation, and fondness for the journey we've been on together. In many ways, I think there'll probably be an opportunity to get the band back together if things ever come to that point. So that's kind of a origin story, vision setting overview. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's been meaningful. If you've got questions for me, let me know. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Logan out.